Alright, what's going on, y'all? So today I'm going to talk about how I had the best gains of my life during a 2-month period. So this happened back right after my last show. I turned pro in December of 2021. I went pro on stage at 182 pounds. 2 months later in February, I was still a solid shredded 235 pounds. Now, a lot of that was water and inflammation, but that was still a very solid 8 to 12 pounds at least of muscle gained during that period of time. I estimate that during my entire last off season, which was over a year, I gained 80% of my gains of that off season during that 2-month period of time. So today I'm going to detail everything I did from cycle, diet, everything to pull off those insane gains. Now, I want to preface this with you have to get insanely shredded to pull this off. This is not something you're going to be able to do if you're, 10% body fat or 15% body fat. You're going to have to get not only, summer shredded, you're going to have to get stage lean to really pull off this level of gains. Really, how you can think about it is the level of leanness you go into doing this, the more gains you can get out of it. So that's where it does behoove you to, maybe think about doing a show because it will force you to get the shredded level you will need to have what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about a post-show rebound. So there's two schools of thought when you come out of a contest prep, a show. You either do a post-show rebound, which I'm going to talk to you guys about today, or you reverse diet. Post-show rebound is definitely not the healthiest method. I did this and it worked for me, but I don't plan on doing this moving forward. I've matured a lot as a bodybuilder, as an athlete, and as a coach. And frankly, I want to have longevity in this sport. And so I won't be doing the post-show rebounds moving forward. I will be doing more of a reverse diet. But typically how reverse diet works is typically right after a show, you'd go ahead and drop all the gear. You'd go down to your cruising doses, your TRT dose. You'd clean out, and during that time, you would really slowly reverse your calories back up from where they were after the show. You'll get to a really low point. So rather than just adding back a ton of food, you'll slowly reverse that back. This minimizes fat gain, gives you a longer runway for off season, and then when you get to a healthy point. After you've cruised, then you can go ahead and go into a really good off-season push. During that time, though, you're going to gain a lot of muscle from the food alone. But with that being said, a very old-school method that bodybuilders have been using for decades now is the post-show rebound. So this is essentially extending your cycle after the show and doing things a bit differently. Like I said, this is not the healthiest method, but it does work, and it worked extremely well for me. So, like I said, I got down to 182 pounds on show day. After that, I completely dropped out all my prep cycle gear. So, my test on that cycle we pulled it down to 350 at the lowest towards the end of that cycle. I'll explain what I did with the cycle towards the end, but really the main thing is you're trying to maximize the insulin sensitivity. So that's where I said you need to get as shredded as possible. So when you come out of the show, even if you didn't have any gear in place, you're going to gain a lot of muscle because your body's so insulin sensitive that any food you put in it, you're really going to be maximizing. You're going to be having huge strength gains, and then you're going to be having huge muscle gains come from that. So when it comes to diet, rather than reverse dieting out and slowly adding back calories, what I did is I kept my protein exactly where it was, which was about 300 grams per day. I kept my fat really low. So I kept my fat, I believe it was under 55 grams a day, but I did not raise it much from where I was post-show the entirety of the 6 weeks post-show. During that time, I blasted carbs. So essentially, I kept my my meal plan really clean. It was still essentially a prep diet. I was just adding a ton of the carb sources. So especially rice, I would give myself treats, pre-workout with, say Rice Krispie treats. But I was just blasting carbs. At night, I was doing, a bunch of rice cakes as a treat. But during that 6-week period, I was blasting a ton of carbs, which if you do even without gear, you're going to gain muscle. Now with the gear part, this is where you're going to be able to stay shredded, and you're going to be able to put on insane gains when you pair this up with blasting the carbs. So really, frankly, I didn't use much gear, and you really don't need much gear at all. Like I said, you can go down to TRT dose, and you're still going to make gains post-show with how insulin sensitive you are. But what I did is I raised my test back up to, it was either 500 to 600 milligrams a week, but it was 600 at the absolute most, and then I did 300 milligrams of MPP per week, and then 4 IUs of GH per day, and that's what it was. So it was, we'll call it 600 milligrams of test, 300 milligrams of MPP, 4 IUs of growth. Now keep in mind, this is after my prep cycle, so the body is taxed at this point. You know, it needs to get cleaned out and not toxic. But, you know, I did extend it for 6 weeks. I dropped out the trend and put in MPP. Now with the growth in place, this is where it allowed me to maximize the insulin sensitivity and all of that. They all work synergistically, and me blasting the carbs with the a little bit higher test and then the MPP in place for strength, I was growing like an absolute weed. It seemed like literally every 2 to 3 days I was waking up with a completely different look. I was having PRs, and pretty massive PRs every session I went into the gym. But you know, it was a pretty insane 6-week period of gains. Like I said, that built you know, 80% of the gains I've made over the last a little bit over a year now. And so it did really give me a really good foundation. I don't regret doing it because I you know, I saw what worked, you know, and frankly, you know, I did get my blood work done after that, and I was okay. You know, I'm fortunate that, you know, I have had really good blood work results. With that being said, I do run doses on more of the moderate end. You know, a lot of, you know, I put out my cycles to you guys, and there's comments all the time of people saying that I'm lying about the doses. I'm not lying about the doses at all, guys. But what I am talking about is pros do things a little bit differently, and a lot of them maximize these post-show rebounds, and they're maximizing insulin sensitivity. That's why you see pros are getting better after each show, because they're continually getting to that shredded point and coming out of it. So if you have any takeaway from this, the more shredded you can get, and then maximize the rebound out of that, the more muscle you guys are going to build. But, you know, if you are going to go the post-show rebound route, definitely be careful, guys. You don't need much gear at all. But if you are going to do it, you know, bump up the tests a little bit, add in a little bit of growth hormone. You guys will make absolutely insane gains. With that being said, I highly recommend you clean out after you've done, you know, a contest prep, get healthy, do on the healthy side, have longevity for the sport. But, you know, there's different methods to this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to just give y'all kind of like a honest breakdown of what I did for my post-show rebound. I've been asked all the time how I made all those gains, you know, in that period of time, and that's it. So frankly, it was blasting carbs and then having, you know, just a pretty moderate cycle in place for the 6 weeks post-show. And frankly, you know, if you had test and GH in place, you're going to do really well. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you could, please go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions down below. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.